hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, everybody. DJ Fermi here, back once again. We're playing World of Warcraft. This might become a trend, who knows? Playing some Alterac Valley. I'm level 53 now, Shadow Priest. Kicking ass. I've still got a ton of resists. I'm gonna get killed by this goat. I was hoping to get a stun off. Experiment, shift clicking. Does loot everything. I'm sorry I make such crazy sounds. I get really excited when I play a PvP. It really just brings out the worst in me. Yo 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 yo! I'm live, Squig Boss Mad Knobs. Is that a real name? What is that, man? Are you a troll? Are you trolling me? How did I die? I got pyroblasted. What the fuck? I haven't worth any honor. Alright, there we go. He's cleared my throat a bit. Could you not? They just knock me off my mouth. Thank you. Look at this guy's gear. None really of the PvP gear. Oh, there it is. Some of the blood guards. Oh, okay. Legionnaires, champions, blood guards. This guy's starting the PvP, like me. Bandit servitude. It's not bad. I need to get my Frost Wolf insignia. Gotta be level 60 though. I didn't pull the friggin' guards I normally do. I'm not going first though. You can go first. I'm like a baby. A little too chill for me. Alright, well, hear what you got. Just needs. I love it. I fucking love it. Whoa, what hit me? Microphone check. Alright, looks like everything's good. I thought I was low, but there's level 51s here. I got 2 levels on them at least. This guy's getting rectified. So I'm just trying to heal and get my mana back up. I don't want to die again. If I die now, I have a really long... Well, no, I have a pretty short run back. I got 5,000 fucking honor for that. I'm not even doing anything. I'm not really leveling up either. Let's try doing a different battleground. Who do I want to ride? I feel like I should do a little questing now. Frostwolf need our help. I wonder if this will knock me up a few ranks. I need to get up to a higher level, though. I'll be more useful. Let me bring up my leveling guide. We're going to the blasted lands. Fuck our lives. Nice, we got some auctions. small TV break.
Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Hey, everybody, come on in here. Chris, it's good to see you. It's been so long. Beth, hi. Beatty, Tyler, Kevin, it's all great to see you. And I know why you're here. It's for the coffee, but it's also for the learning. And when I say learning, I mean it. I even put on my professor this so to YouTube, and you can find it by searching for Real Coffee with Scott Adams. Make sure you put the real on there. Real Coffee with Scott Adams. And if you watch that, it's monetized, and that's good for me too. But if you like to watch it live, this is the only place to do it. So we're going to talk about Ian Bremmer first, and then I'm going to give you a lesson on identifying fake news, such as the Ian Bremmer tweet. If you are not up on the news, let me tell you what happened. So Ian Bremmer, who is president and founder of Eurasia Group and a political science professor at NYC, also frequent guest on news shows, has a big footprint on Twitter as well. So you've probably heard of him. You've probably seen him talking about stuff on TV. So he does a tweet yesterday or the day before in which he says, and by the way, this is not true, so this is just what the tweet said. Kim Jong-un, so he attributed this to Trump. So he tweeted as if this were a quote from Trump while Trump was over in Japan or is over there. He said that allegedly that Trump said Kim Jong-un is smarter and would make a better president than sleepy Joe Biden. Now, first of all, the first thing you need to know is that's not true. President Trump did not say that. But what is true? So apparently, Ian Bremmer took the tweet down after there was some confusion. A number of reputable news sites apparently retweeted it as if it were true, and the internet. Many people on the internet thought it was true. I think his comment was that it was a sort of a comment on the state of the news and social media. I'm paraphrasing, but that's all Ian Bremmer said about it. I like the fact that he's not saying too much about it, which makes it kind of funny. So here's my take on it. This was clearly, now that we know that it was not real, we know, I think we can say this with some certainty, that it was intended as parody. In other words, it was a tweet which was supposed to be sort of in the, let's say, in the general field of something that the president might have said. And that's the joke. The joke is that it's outrageous, but it's not so outrageous given the things that President Trump has tweeted or said in the past. It's not so outrageous that it's obvious that he didn't say it. It just wasn't obvious. And so I think as parody, it fell short, meaning that it didn't quite hit the zone. Now, the zone for parody is anything that even a dumb person would know is just a joke. So the line of parody starts with everybody can tell it's a joke. All right, everybody knows that's a joke. No way that's real. It's clearly just for fun. So that's the starting place for parody. But parody can sort of stretch into another zone that's a little more dangerous. And the dangerous zone for parody is where dumb people can't tell the difference. Smart people think it's hilarious because they say, aha, that's obviously a joke. This couldn't be true in the real world. It's so funny that somebody made a joke that's so close to reality that dumb people can't tell the difference. Now, that's a dangerous form of parody, but it's still parody. It's intended as a joke. The smart people laugh, dumb people get confused, and that's part of the joke. Part of the joke is that dumb people can't tell the difference. Ian Bremmer's attempt at parody, and I'm going to call it parody. Some of you are going to disagree with me, but pretty firmly confident that it was intended as parody. And the problem was that even smart people wouldn't necessarily know that one was supposed to be a joke. So as parody, it was a complete failure because it was too close to the original. Now, we could say, let's give him some credit for being so close to the original voice that even smart people can't tell the difference. So there was definitely some art that went into the tweet, meaning that it confused even smart people. Now, I didn't see it until it had already been taken down and people knew it was not true. So I didn't have an opportunity to find out if I would have been fooled by it. But I think I would have been fooled by it. I think it would have fooled me if I just saw it in the wild. I'd like to think that at least a little flag would have gone up and that the little flag would have said, maybe I should wait on this one. I'm going to wait for a little confirmation on this one. I might have been smart enough to do that, but I probably would have thought it was mostly true. So, what do we make of this? The president has weighed in and thinks it's outrageous, and maybe the libel laws should be changed. But here's my take on this. I am familiar with Ian Bremmer from Twitter. We've exchanged some tweets in public. So I also know that his Twitter feed is usually at least tongue-in-cheek, a little lighthearted. Yes, serious topics as well. But it's very common for Ian Bremmer to be using humor and sarcasm, that sort of thing, in his tweets. Now, if you didn't know that, and the first time you ever came in contact with his material was to see that tweet, that would be out of context because you don't know that he does humorous tweets. So I probably would have been at least alerted because I know the context, but I think I still would have been fooled. So I would call this simply a mistake, meaning that he meant to hit the parody zone, missed it by a hair, but that hair is a big deal. If you miss it, you really missed it. So it doesn't matter that he barely missed it, he missed it. So he took it down, which was the responsible thing to do. He has acknowledged that it was not real. He has not, as far as I know, has not apologized. Do we require an apology? I don't know. It was a mistake. Now he has said that it's a comment on the news that anybody would believe it. It's sort of a comment on our current situation. And somebody says he did issue an apology. I haven't seen the apology. And then somebody else in the comments is saying he doubled down. Let's just say it doesn't matter. He did say it wasn't real. He took it down. He said it was a comment about the world, which I accept. I think it was a comment about the state of how people will believe just about anything. Oh, so just about 10 minutes ago, he issued an apology. Let me be current, and let's just search for him. And let's see if he tweeted it. So Ian Bremmer says, this is 1 hour ago. He says, my tweet yesterday about Trump preferring Kim Jong-un to Biden as president was meant in jest. Okay, so that's what I told you before he said it clearly. It should have been obvious. The president correctly quoted me as saying it was a completely ludicrous statement. I should have been clearer. My apologies. Apology accepted. Apology accepted. He did his apology within the 48-hour window. He clearly said what he got wrong. And in this case, it's implied what he would do in the future. It's a good apology should be sincere. You should acknowledge what you did wrong, how it hurt people, essentially. And then you should say what you're going to do later to make it better. Now, in this case, the what you're going to do later is just, not do this. So he doesn't really need to state that. That would be optional in this case. I would say apology completely accepted. Not that he needed to apologize to me necessarily. So he just said, my apologies, took responsibility, told us what it should have been, told us what the mistake was. Bam, done, right? We should be done with this. So remember my standard. My standard, which I recommend to all of you, is that if we judge people by mistakes, we end up hating everybody because we all make mistakes. And people don't make mistakes like this intentionally. Clearly, he wasn't thinking, I'm going to fool the world into thinking this is real. I'll get away with this, because obviously it's not something you could get away with. It's, there's too much visibility on the president. So it was clearly a mistake, and it was not one that he made consciously. So you can't judge him by something he wasn't even aware of he was doing. But you can judge him, and I would recommend that you always take the standard. You could judge him by how he responds to his mistake. He fairly quickly took the tweet down. He clarified, he apologized, 100% acceptable. Ian, if you're watching this, thank you. And it was actually a good lesson on fake news. But let's take a sip before I go to the whiteboard. Ready? Sip. So I want to give you a quick lesson on identifying fake news. Here's one of the most important lessons you'll ever have in your life. So here's the big picture. Let's start with this. On this dimension, we have stimulation, just how interesting something is and how compelling it is. And then we have time on this dimension. So here's you. Your normal interest and stimulation in events will go up and down. You're bored, here you're bored, here you're interested, here you're really interested, here you're bored a little bit, now you get interested. So your normal life is boredom to interest, boredom to interest. The real news is mostly below your boredom line, meaning that if the news simply gave you information about what's happening every day, you really probably wouldn't be interested at all because your life is kind of interesting. The news, if it doesn't affect you personally, and that's most of the news, not that interesting. So you couldn't have much of a business model of the news when it's more boring than anything you're doing during the day. Why would you tune into that? Now, every now and then, the real news is so interesting that you really do have to tune in. There's a disaster, a terrorist attack, a hurricane. So sometimes the real news is more interesting than whatever you were doing on your own. But it doesn't happen often. It's sort of a 20-to-1 situation. 20 times it'll be boring and one time it'll be interesting. But fake news has a completely different graph. Fake news is pretty much permanently more interesting than your life. So the fake news, you can't look away. It's like, what? Are you kidding me? That happened? Now, every once in a while, the fake news will be maybe less interesting than whatever you're doing, but it's not often. So here's the first rule for identifying fake news. All right, you ready? Now, I want to tell you, this is not a 100% rule, as in every time this is true, it's fake news. It doesn't work that way. But it's a really, really strong...
Okay, let me guess. Let me guess what he's going to say. If the news is more interesting than your life, it's probably fake. And if the news is boring, then that's probably real.
Indicator. And it's probably a 10 to 1 or 20 to 1 indicator, meaning that if you treated it as if it were true, you'd be right 10 times and wrong maybe once, and you wouldn't know which that once was necessarily. But if you see a news story that is so provocative, that is more interesting than your normal life, and you can't look away, there's probably a 10 to 1 chance it's not true. Now, when you saw the Ian Bremmer fake quote that was meant in jest, as he explained, but before you knew it was meant in jest, because it was poorly executed, it looked like maybe it wasn't. What did you think about that? Did you say to yourself, oh my God, did the President of the United States just say that a brutal dictator, Kim Jong-un, would be a better, smarter president than Joe Biden? Did that seem like something that could be real? Well, unfortunately, that was the problem. The problem was,
Look at that fucking eggshell head, man.
It felt sort of real. It felt completely within the realm of things that are real. That was the problem. That's why that one was hard to tell. But generally, if you see something that's extraordinary, it's not true. All right? So your first reaction to an extraordinary story should be, okay, it's extraordinary, therefore there's a 10 to 1 chance it didn't happen. Okay? So that's the first rule. If it's extraordinary, there's a 10 to 1 chance it's not real, and that you'll later find out it wasn't. Here's some more tips on spotting the fake news. Yes, I do have a whiteboard with 2 sides. Envy me for my 2-sided whiteboard that I made myself.
You're not that special. Calm down.
Here's some more ways to tell. Things that are credible.
Disasters.
And in this case,
They're hard to fake a hurricane.
I mean credible, meaning that it has the quality that it's believable, even if it's not true, because sometimes you can be wrong. But things that are credible are disasters. If you hear that there's a disaster that's actually happening or happened, probably true. Names and places, usually true. Not every time, but usually you know who was involved, and usually you know where they were. So that kind of news you can usually depend on. That's usually true. All right? Here's the key one, and I put it in a different color. Reported by both sides. If your news is only reported by, let's say, anti-Trump media, let's say it's reported as true on MSNBC, and reported true on CNN, and reported true in the New York Times, but it's either not reported at all or reported as false on Fox News and Breitbart. Is it true or is it false? The answer is almost every time it's false, and it works in the reverse. If it's reported as true on Fox News or Breitbart, but it's not reported as true on CNN and MSNBC, probably not true. So I would look for the 4-point check. I would say if these 4 organizations, and these are just sort of proxies for right-leaning and left-leaning, but if these 4 all reported the same, Breitbart, Fox News, MSNBC, and CNN, if they all reported the same, almost certainly true. Could still be wrong, but almost certainly true. If only one of those 2 sides reports it as true and the other one says it isn't, probably not true. And it doesn't matter which side it is that's reporting it as true.
Wait till I kill you, guy.
It's not true.
I'll fucking kill you.
Here's some other indications of fake news. Predictions are pretty much always fake news because people can't predict. Some of the biggest things in the world, news-wise, are based on predictions. Climate change is based on predictions. Now, it might be true that, and probably is true, that the science is roughly right, and that CO2 is being added by humans, and it has some impact on heat, and we should care about that and make sure we're checking that out. The predictions, though, of, in this year, the oceans will swallow us all up, or whatever the predictions are, those are far more likely to be fake news because we can't really predict that well. So the current reality might be true, might be false, but more likely to be true if it's the current reality. If it's a prediction, don't believe it at all. Predictions are terrible, very unlikely to be true. Mind reading. You see continuous mind reading, especially on CNN and the anti-Trump press. The reason you see so much of it is that the real world is not serving up enough bad news about this president. The real world is giving him a good economy and success and defense and trade wars, or at least going in a direction that we think could be productive. So the real world is just not serving up enough bad news. So the anti-Trump press starts finding bad news through mind reading. And they will say such things as Nancy Pelosi got under his skin. We don't know that. We don't know his internal mental state because he didn't act like that on the outside. How would you know that on the inside
What are you doing
he's
here?
in some kind of turmoil? You don't know that.
I need to
And
get.
it's unlikely that, given all the things that this president deals with, consider the size of the scandals, the size of the risk, the size of the rewards, the size of the issues that the president deals with. Do you think that Nancy Pelosi's little comments got under his skin? It probably is the least important thing that happened to him all year. So whenever you see somebody saying that they know what somebody's mental state is, or what they're planning, or what they really thought, the first thing you should say to yourself is, I don't know, probably fake news. Not every time, because we are humans and we have to make assumptions about what other people are thinking and feeling in order to work, and operate in the real world. And sometimes we're right on the obvious stuff. But when it comes to the news, mind reading is fake news. The way people frame things is not the news, because you can take the same set of facts and frame them positive or frame them negative. Do not be fooled that the way people are presenting the facts is truth, because people present things to tell a story. Even a photographer who's just taking a picture, this is the Peter Duke theory, that even a photographer is not just taking a picture and pictures don't lie. Never. That never happens. The photographer is deciding which picture to show you, which picture to take, how to pose it, what angle, what story to tell. So even a photograph is a narrative. Even a photograph is framing something a certain way. So framing is not news. That's somebody's opinion, and they're trying to manipulate you with their framing. Quotes. Quotes I wouldn't believe unless you actually hear them. If you hear it on video, it's probably true, but we're actually entering a phase in which even that is not reliable, because now we see that we can create these so-called deep fakes where you can put words into somebody's mouth that they never spoke, and it's going to look really real. So you can't even trust quotes anymore, even if you've seen the video. I would say at the moment, probably 99% of what you see on the video as a quote is true, but it might be taken out of context, because I don't have to go too deep into your memory banks to tell you that there are plenty of times when part of a quote was accurately given, but if you leave out the second part of the quote, or you leave out the context, it can be an accurate statement that somebody used these words and still completely fake news, because all you did is you left out a part, you left out a context, you left out what somebody said just before the answer. So even direct quotes should be regarded as probably fake news if those direct quotes are about politics. How about science? Science is our probably most reliable way to get to truth. Why do I have science on the fake news category? Well, the problem with science is that by the time you hear about it, it's filtered through liars. So the people who write stories about science, and that's how you hear it for the most part, you hear the news talking about science. You don't hear the science. You hear people reporting on what scientists said. Now, if you talk to the scientists who read what the news says about their own story, those scientists, more often than not, will say, well, they didn't quite get the story right. It's missing a key thing that I think you should know. That would be the most normal situation, is that even the scientist would say it's fake news, even if the news is about this scientist's science, because the news reporters will get it wrong. They'll miss key things, they'll lose some context, they'll oversell it, that sort of thing. So even the science, you have to assume, is going to be filtered through liars. And you also have to assume that there are a lot of, I think something like half of all peer-reviewed science turns out to be not reproducible. So half the time, a report about a new study is telling you something that's not true. About half the time. If not more, it might be more. And especially if the story is so amazingly fascinating that it's beyond what you would expect, that fascinating element should be a tell that it might not be true. It's a little too interesting. If something's a little too interesting, a little too provocative, a little too outside of what you expected, it's probably not true. Might be, it could be, but probably not. All right, anonymous sources, you should know by now that anonymous source means it didn't happen. Far more likely than it did happen. When you hear an anonymous source says that somebody did something horrible behind closed doors, you should automatically think it's not true. Automatically. The first thought you should have is that didn't happen. Your first thought should not be, well, it probably happened. It's in the New York Times, so it probably happened. That should not be your first thought. Your first thought should be anonymous source. Those are never true. Well, sometimes they could be true. Like, it's possible, but probably not. Laundry list persuasion. When you see the laundry list come out, there's a high likelihood that that is all fake news. So there are some things in which you could say this list of things about whatever the topic is are all true, so that it could be true. But more often than not, you see the laundry list when there's no substance to the claim. For example, there's a laundry list of what the president has done that some people say is collusion with Russia and some people say is obstruction. It's a long list of things. But the quality of that list is that there's nothing on it that individually has much weight. So if you see a laundry list of reasons why something is good or bad, you should say to yourself, what's the strongest thing on the list? This is a good discipline. Ignore the size of the list, because that's probably fake news. So that the number of things on the list should tell you it's less credible, not more. So the more things on the list, the less credible it is. Keep that in mind. Not the more credible, the less credible. Because if you have one good reason, you just focus on the one good reason. If somebody says, I have one fact, one good reason, one good argument, it's so strong, here it is. Well, that could very likely be a good argument. If somebody says, I have a laundry list and there's nothing on this list that individually would be persuasive, it's probably confirmation bias that they just collected in a list. This last one is really troubling, video. We used to think that if you saw a video, same as the story with the picture, that a video would even be more true than a picture. Because you could tell yourself, well, a still picture, I get how that could be photoshopped. So you have less belief in a still picture, and you've also had the experience. If you take your own picture, you take a selfie, you can take 20 pictures of yourself and 19 of them you look like an ugly idiot. And then there's just that one selfie that you look pretty good. And you think, well, it's 1 out of 20. So pictures can really lie to you hard. We think video is more reliable because it's just a little harder to fake. But the days of it being hard to fake. Here, let's get rid of this troll. Anybody who says apologist, just so you know why you're being blocked now, Apologist is not a reason or an argument. It is not a fact. An apologist is somebody who's doing mind reading of me. So if you're just listening to this, a commenter said that I'm an apologist. And that's mind reading because you don't know my inner mental state. You can't know that. It's unknowable. If you imagine that you can know my interior mental state, you're probably hallucinating. That's not a good indication of reality. Anyway, point is that video is no longer something you can trust. The video could be out of context. For example, the Covington kids situation. The video was not altered per se, but it was out of context. And that turned something false into something that looked true. There we go. Here, we'll get rid of another one who thinks apologist is a good word to use. You don't need to be on this. All right. So, and then we have the additional problem that video can be altered. And if you look at the latest situation about the Slow Down Nancy Pelosi video, I didn't trust any reporting or any video from any source. So for example, when the New York Times said, here's the original video, and then next to it you can see the altered video, and so here's proof, you can look at it yourself. Here's the original, here's the altered, you can see that they're very different. When I read that story, I said to myself, video? That's not reliable anymore. Probably a year ago, I would have said, okay, it's the New York Times, they're showing the video side by side, this is as clear as it can be. I mean, there's nothing to doubt anymore. The news has been proven. Today, I would no longer say that. I would say that the odds that the New York Times could have, I'm not saying they did, this is not an accusation, but you have to be open to the possibility that they just showed you the wrong video, or that they changed a video on their own and showed it, or that they mistakenly got the wrong video, or that you only imagine they're different. I mean, there are probably 20 different ways in which that could not be exactly what you thought it was. So, here's the bottom line. If you see something that seems to you like too amazing to be true in the news, it probably isn't true. And when I say probably, I mean 10 to 1, as in not even close. Not even close. All right, and you saw the other things, so I won't go over them again. But those are your cues. None of them are 100%. The more of these cues you see, the more likely it's fake. And if you'd like to review this again, you can see it here on the Periscope playback, or you can see it
Looks like it's just you and me, dead Mao brute. Click isn't operating. why thank you. It's not working. Nice shoulders. Oh yeah, I remember when I used to fear things instead of shielding myself constantly. Ah shit, I already used the fucking crystal. Turns out the first time was a fluke. I got some grenades here. This is, I got this from a quest. I can't wait to use this in some PvP. Let's hide some of these fucking quests, by the way. It's a little quiet. Definitely quiet. Here, I'm gonna go get some tunes playing. What? Microphone check. Crystal. twice in a row. Charm, fear, sleep. Charm, fear, sleep. Charm, warlock. Fear, warlock, priest. Warrior. Sleep. Certain bosses? Don't be a dum-dum. All the mobs. Got this guy dotted down. Pretty low. Killing me. Goes tried breaking this friggin' stone. Interrupted me. Okay. Very nice. It is possible to complete this quest. Yeah, this one's a little full on. I should have got some food from those mages in the battlegrounds too. What are my plans? Maybe I should be starting to form my guild right now, really. I should G-quit this noob guild. Get a better guild. have to go to Capital City and start my own guild. I have to get a roster though, and have to get some people to sign up. What'll be a really catchy name? Kind of like that Right Wing Death Squad. Or Coca-Cola Death Squad kind of works too. Very nice, we're done here. Let's farm this all up and be done here. Hit 54, maybe 55 today. If we hit 55, that'd be great, because then I can use that level 55 food. Stop using the level 45 food. Faster mana regen. Oh, I gotta be killing all this shit. Oh wow. You need a lot. 5, 5, and 3? Dude, I gotta kill everything. Okay, hold on. Let's get an official tracker going. How many light feathers? So the things we're tracking are these pincers. No, don't fucking destroy those. Put them in a special spot to make them easier to track. Jowls. Yeah, I don't have a lot. According to these things, we gotta kill 28 of these vulture. Get 28 vulture gizzards. As soon as I do that, though, I'm gonna like turn in all these quests and level up. Thank you for that lovely spam. I was feeling a little lonely. What did I just do? This was a huge mistake. I got it now. buzzard wing? Is that what it's supposed to get? No, it's a vulture guzzard. A buzzard guzzard? No, vulture gizzard. Vulture gizzard, wow. The blasted lands are so awesome for grinding. How am I supposed to get over there? I think this is the right way. That looks a bit more right. Damn, they wanted me to take this out at level 51. Running away. This guy's kicking my ass. He's level 55. Holy crap. Where's my roasted quill I just picked up? We could kill this guy. He's got a stupid name. Whoa. What is this level 63 elite just running around here? Oh shit, it's the servant. Fucking fight. Fucking A. I hate this shit. The servant should be in front. He should be in back. It's fucking dumb. This game's fucking stupid. I don't want anyone who plays this garbage. Look, see, he shouldn't be right there. How am I supposed to get to the stone to free him if he's gonna be right there? It's like he doesn't even want to get fucking rescued. If he doesn't want to get rescued, I don't want to rescue him. I gotta run away. Look at this crap I have to do. Can you believe this game was ever once popular? So much fun. That's how you silence a warlock. Give them a taste of their own medicine. Fear, bitch. Yep. Run down here so you're easier to loot. No. Go back up. Go back down here. What the fuck? How much damage are you fucking dealing? $386 for a Shadow Bolt? That's way too much. That's way too fucking much. You can't even run up that fucking train right there. This game's broken. Don't move. Good. Stay place. Stay in place. Just breathe in, breathe out. Just stay calm. I don't want to break my glass desk. I should have got something more durable. Oh, great. Now the fucking enemies are corpse camping me. Fucking great. Man, Click works fucking great too. Great add-on. What is wrong with this? Global.
Hello, Esteem.
guys are running fast as shit. Holy crap. What the fuck? $431. Finally. guys have so much resistance. Alright, 1 out of a billion to go. Nice wand crit. I would have minded some some of the jowls off these hyenas. There should be 2 of them. At least 1. How the hell are you supposed to get up there? Oh man, I can just take this guy out so easily right now. Actually, I don't know if I'd take him out. I could dot him. That's all I can do. I might get a stun off, 10%. I don't really have the mana to be spamming it right now. Well, I could just run up that way. Do another crystal. See how that works out. Maybe I'll die. Oh, there's the other crystal. Here's my death. Pretty far away. There we go. Oh, this is the easiest one by far. was gonna be like, what? You absorbed the quest ability? That would have been amazing. Holy crap, you got a free 9 of these guys? Better be a fucking good turn. It better just be chunking me off. Guys, let's fear them. Give myself a little mana healing. It's my unit frames, though it doesn't work with click. Okay, well, let's do this. Go. You're freed. That'll be the only time you can ever kill those mobs. Tainted Scar. Oof, sounds scary. Got the Blasted Lands were bad, but this place is called the Tainted Scar. Really? I killed 2 of these things and I got 0 quest items? What the fuck, man? What the fuck? I made 0 progress towards my quest. I made a tiny little bit of progress towards my quest of level 60. I don't need to... Oh, I need to free those guys. These guys are fucking strong. worried there. Wouldn't take it. So I'm not just grinding at this point. All of these mobs are quest mobs. Except for those guys. Finally, one. Blasted boar lung. I need to get 6 of those. That was a fuck up by me. Very nice. Your soul is freed, servant. What do I do with that stuff? It's glowing. Glowing scorpid blood. Okay. Alistarge. So the Adepts will run at you instead of just casting spells like I normally think they would. They're gonna heal themselves? What's the point of having all that mana, Adept? Shadowsworn thugs are fucking thugs. They just kicked me. Got 4,000 health. Whoa. Did not expect that to happen. Okay, we're gonna kite him over here. And we're gonna kite him back. I don't know what they want you to do if you couldn't fear him there. Where's this crystal? I don't see any servants down here. It's Quasiadon lied to me. But that's okay. It gets me in the general direction. That's more than useful. It used to be fucking hard as hell to question why you not know what the hell you were doing. There's the servant. Look at these resistances to shadow. It's so high. I gotta swap my wand too, actually. Keeler looking for group. Zulgrub BWL. Yo, any 60s who want some free honor, there is a shitty geared paladin in Assenvale. Slow down. Let's run away. Boom! Bow! Yeah, take that, level 50 mage. Bow. There he is, the Gooby Goober. I'm watching you. Just so you know, there are people watching you, Gooby Goober. Imagine how much better my mall climbing would be if I had a level 60 mount. There's the servant. Really great to get his stun off right now. Okay, one more Mind Blast stunned. Yeah, I'm not even halfway done yet. Very nice. Oh my god, that fucking death sound was ridiculous. Like something out of like South Park. I make better death sounds. There you go. You can pay me later, Blizzard. Or how about just they fall dead? Okay, I got some jowls. Not nearly as many as I'm supposed to have. I only gotta do 9 of them because they're 1v1s out here. They are a few levels higher than me. You're supposed to do this at level 51? Is this person insane? Oh, okay. Hey, what the fuck? What the fuck? Who the fuck do you think you are? Yeah, no. This isn't fucking going down like this. You fucking can't come here like and do this shit to me. Fucking dick. I was about to do that. try to recruit some locals. I think I won't fucking get you. I'll fucking hunt you down. Fucking ass. Fucking ass. You gonna fucking chase me now? God, this click add-on's a real fucking piece of shit. It'd be great if it fucking worked. Ever. I think I'm gonna turn off Xpearl. Maybe it's Xpearl's fucking fault. Maybe I gotta use the gay ass PF unit frames. Are we allowed to say gay like that anymore? I don't know. I don't care. I'll just say I'm gay and I'm using it my way. So don't you take that word away from me. What? Currently installing add-ons. I installed PFUI. We're going to install DPS Mate next. I have myself right up here. Leave me alone. Don't fuck with me. Alright, very nice. And the last one. PFUI, cast bar. I don't need that. Sell value, move anything, mob info, textures. Whisper cast. Wow. Okay, you can put it back. How do I make the chat left panel smaller? Chat. Still a little bit narrower. Oh, that's cool. PFUI. Chat. Yeah, I'm setting up my UI right now. Okay, that's looking better. Wow. Profiles. Let's go PF Dark. Ah, the slim was better. Alright, let's see some click casting. Alright. Whoa. How did I get the fuck up here? Looks pretty good. Wow. Too calming. Too calming. Putting me to sleep. Putting me to sleep. looks like I finally got some type of add-on that automatically dismounts you when you try to cast a spell. Very nice. Didn't think we'd make it there for a little bit. How many fucking foobar add-ons are there? There we go, we cleaned it up a little bit. Did it too soon. Don't fucking bother me, Samsung. I don't want to deal with your bullshit.
Nigel Farage.
A multi-party election.
Group chat, webinars, and your conference rooms.
My general understanding of this story is that a shareholder went to a Chase Bank shareholders meeting and questioned the CEO, Jamie Dimon, over whether or not they were banning conservatives. Unfortunately, the story doesn't actually explain who he was talking to or what he was doing. Apparently, he brought a copy of 1984. They say he gave it to an employee. Jamie Dimon responded. So here's what I can assume. At a shareholders meeting, a shareholder questioned Jamie Dimon, who did not deny flatly that they won't ban conservatives in the future. Now, apparently, he's claiming they didn't ban conservatives from their banks for political reasons. I'm going to call BS on this, and I'm going to go into my opinion on what's happening and how they get away with this stuff and they lie about it. So this is the story from the New York Post. JP Morgan Chase accused of purging accounts of conservative activists. Now, let me just give a disclosure. Why I'm talking about this, do we see Chase removing liberals? Not that we're hearing, okay? If they are, they're not speaking up. Banks should not be removing people for their politics. That is nightmarishly dystopian. Hence, one of the shareholders gave a copy of 1984 to an employee or something. So, before we get started, check out timcast.com/donate if you'd like to support my work. Monthly donation option, cryptocurrency, a physical address. I do rely on all of your support, especially in the summer months when viewership is down. But if you like, comment, and share the video, that engagement really helps. YouTube then promotes it more. So also subscribe if you haven't and you like the content. But let's read the story. They say, conservative activists are calling out America's largest financial institution, charging they are being targeted. Now, I have a few problems with this article. For one, this is old news. I'm trying to figure out if this is a new story or not. Apparently, it was a shareholder who spoke up. JP Morgan Chase is under fire for closing the bank accounts of several customers in the conservative movement, as other right-wingers are threatening to close their accounts unless the bank plays nice. Quote, if Jamie Dimon can't absolutely guarantee that Chase Bank won't ever discriminate against conservatives, conservatives should consider banking elsewhere, warned David Almasi, a vice president of the conservative-leaning National Center for Public Policy Research, referring to their CEO. They say, JP Morgan first landed in hot water soon after conservative activists Enrique Tarrio, Joe Biggs, Laura Loomer, and Martina Marcota discovered their accounts at Chase were closed within weeks of each other earlier this year, and without satisfactory explanations, they claim. Tarrio is a Trump supporter and head of the Proud Boys organization. Several Chase managers could not give him a satisfactory reason for the account's closure. One even called the closing mind-boggling. Last week's shareholders meeting reminded Almasi of George Orwell's 1984. Almasi delivered a copy of the dystopian futuristic novel to a JP Morgan Chase employee to present to Dimon. That was to underline his view that the current debanking and deplatforming of conservatives by American businesses, from JP Morgan to social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter, is akin to how political adversaries had their identities crushed in Orwell's searing book. So I'll just say this. The populists, the nationalists, the right-wing nationalists have gotten major victories across Europe, okay? They were expected to win more. Apparently, they didn't reach the expectations, but they did tremendously well from Poland, France, Italy, and the UK. Right-wing nationalists are winning and dominating across the board. We're also seeing the far left rise. But the point is, expect more censorship. Absolutely expect more. The centrist, I hate to call it centrist because they're just the corporate mainstream, soulless types who run these big enterprises and don't care for the little guy. That's not necessarily centrism. It's just the mainstream corporate politicians. They're losing their power, okay? So they're going to pull out all the stops to try and stop their political opponents. But more importantly, these big tech companies are kind of far left, so it's even worse than that. They say, Almasi and other critics fear the recent account closures by JP Morgan may be part of a larger purge by the bank, not yet public, of all other accounts affiliated with right-leaning causes. And he said Dimon has only muddied the waters after assuring him the bank is not currently closing accounts for political reasons, but falling short of flat-out blanket denial. I was able to tell him that we have circumstantial evidence that people have lost their bank accounts, he told the Post, recalling how he questioned Dimon at the shareholders' meeting held in Chicago last week. When he asked whether Chase had debanked conservatives and will not wield its power against conservatives in the future. Almasi representing his group's free enterprise project, said Diamond assured him the bank had not pulled any more customer accounts anymore, but he stopped short of saying it won't do it in the future. And while there's no immediate evidence of a hidden blacklist, Almasi frets that conservatives like him who bank with Chase could be targeted. I'll say this, man. If you bank with Chase and you haven't already gotten the GTFO, you're nuts. The same is true for Patreon and other platforms. So look, I still have a Patreon account. I just don't use it anymore. If people want to sign up and put money through it, I'm not doing anything for political reasons. I'm not going to shut down my Patreon account for political reasons. I don't have a Chase account, but if I did, I wouldn't shut it down for political reasons. None of this is emotional for me. I know there's a lot of people who are like, Patreon should face justice for what they did to these people they banned. I don't care about that. Maybe that's up to you. If you think they wronged, Sargon and other people, fine. The point is, if you have a bank account with Chase and you get some kind of bad press, as we've seen random nobodies get attacked on Twitter all day and night, innocent people being accused of racism, how long until Chase shuts your bank account down? These people who got shut down are the canaries in a coal mine, okay? They're the first wave of people to get banned. But if you watch the canaries, gag out and suffocate, and you're sitting there like, I'm bigger, so I can survive the carbon monoxide. You're nuts. You're absolutely nuts. I'm assuming it's carbon monoxide. I don't actually know. But I think that's what kills the canaries. The point is, if Chase is willing to do this, if Patreon is willing to do this, how long until they do it to you? Are you going to sit and wait to find out that your bank account has been shut down? To me, that is absolutely insanity. That is.
The gods of the Elder Scrolls are potentially the most important factor in how the world of Nirn plays out. Gods have shaped races such as the Orsimer, Dunmer, and Bosmer. The empires of Cyrodiil flourished through Akatosh's protection. The Aelids came to power through deals with the Daedra. The Dunmer carved out a home of their own through the living tribunal of gods who only achieved their power through the heart of Lorkhan, who was also a god. The Dwemer disappeared because they tried to make a god. The civil war in Skyrim is partially happening because some say Talos is a god and some say he is not. Even the very geography of the lands has been shaped.
Fuck!
You cannot escape the reality
Fuck!
of gods and religion in the Elder Scrolls.
Why are you there, Basilisk? You fucking ruined everything!
Reality is flexible.
I can't fucking fight two at once!
Dragon breaks, Kim, etc. Look, the Elder Scrolls can be ridiculously complex, but it is my job here today to help simplify it all so you can digest it as one tidy, healthy meal. I will link down below videos that we've made that will be helpful in understanding the video, topics such as who are the Elnor.
Go away! You're not helping!
That aside, my name is Scott from Fudge Muppet, and this
The fuck do you want?
to gods in the
Get
Elder
out of here, fuckboy!
See, there are gods, the Aedra and Daedra, but there are also many different interpretations and pantheons among the different cultures of Tamriel. This video is going to try and reconcile all the differences of the pantheons, explain the different ideas about creation, talk about the gods as planets and their power through worship, and then we'll get into a bit of the crazier bits like dragon breaks and retroactively
Thanks for fucking helping.
kind of stuff. So I hope you can get comfy and you have a clear mind because this is going to get a little full on. I've made timestamps in the description to help break it up and make it easier for you to return to certain topics and sections. Let's get into it. We are going to begin with creation, the beginning of the universe. There are multiple different variations of this, but we need to get the gist to understand the fundamental nature of Mundus and the gods. At first, there were two ever-competing forces, order and chaos. These forces were called Anu and Padme, order and chaos, stasis and change, respectively. Now, these are not gods per se, but rather cosmic forces. This distinction is important because gods are a personification. They have an ego, a sense of self. They are an entity with agency. Cosmic forces, on the other hand, lack such agency. They act as they are meant to act. Anu, a force of order, Dunmer and Bosmer.
Sorry,
The
I wasn't
empires
paying
of
attention to
Cyrodiil
this shit. I was
flourished
too busy
through
fucking
Akatosh's
raging.
protection. The Aelids came to power through deals with the
Thanks
Daedra.
for the fucking help, you cocksucker.
Their own through the living tribunal of gods who only achieved their
Yeah,
power
this is an
through the
explicit
heart of
stream
Lorkhan,
now.
who was also a god. The Dwemer disappeared because they tried to make a god. The civil war in Skyrim is partially happening because some say Talos is a god and some say he is not. Even the very geography of the lands has been shaped by gods. You cannot escape the reality of gods and religion in the Elder Scrolls. They are undeniably real. But as is often the case with the Elder Scrolls, reality is flexible. Things can change. Dragon breaks, Kim, etc. Look, the Elder Scrolls can be ridiculously complex, but it is my job here today to help simplify it all so you can digest it as one tidy, healthy meal. I will link down below videos that we've made that will be helpful in understanding this video, topics such as who are the Elnafey, Dragon breaks, and the Godhead. That aside, my name is Scott from Fudge Muppet, and this is the complete guide to gods in the Elder Scrolls. You see, there are gods, the Aedra and Daedra, but there are also many different interpretations and pantheons among the different cultures of Tamriel. This video is going to try and reconcile all the differences of the pantheons, explain the different ideas about creation, talk about the gods as planets and their power through worship, and then we'll get into a bit of the crazier bits like dragon breaks and retroactively changing the past, that kind of stuff. So I hope you can get comfy and you have a clear mind because this is going to get a little full on. I've made timestamps in the description to help break it up and make it easier for you to return to certain topics and sections. Let's get into it. We are going to begin with creation, the beginning of the universe. There are multiple different variations of this, but we need to get the gist to understand the fundamental nature of Mundus and the gods. At first, there were two ever-competing forces, order and chaos. These forces were called Anu and Padme, order and chaos, stasis and change, respectively. Now, these are not gods per se, but rather cosmic forces. This distinction is important because gods are a personification. They have an ego, a sense of self. They are an entity with agency. Cosmic forces, on the other hand, lack such agency. They act as they are meant to act. Anu, a force of order, fights against Padme, a force for chaos. There is no animosity between the two, they are simply forces that perform their function, in opposition to one another. However, these opposing forces were equal in power, resulting in a stalemate. Now, what happens next is that Anu ends up creating itself a soul, or kind of soul, and Padme does the same. These two pseudo-souls, as I like to call them, are Anoiel and Sithis. The reason I say pseudo-soul is because they aren't quite gods yet. They feel and behave more like cosmic forces in comparison to the gods that you would be familiar with, but they're halfway there. So it's easier to think of Anoiel and Sithis as the halfway points between cosmic force and god. They are the earliest concept of a somewhat conscious entity. With this ability to reflect and to be conscious of themselves, Anoiel and Sithis, instead of being relegated to fighting one another helplessly like the cosmic forces Anu and Padme before them, they could come to an agreement, a solution. They would create the Orbis, which is the name for the universe in the Elder Scrolls. But then, these two pseudo-souls create a soul each for themselves, a new incarnation, what we would consider the very first gods as we understand the term. Anoiel created Auriel, and Sithis created Lorkhan. Auriel and Lorkhan mark the transition fully from a cosmic force-type entity to a fully conscious entity, a personality, an ego, an actual god as we know them. The Orbis was crazy at the time, unstable and nonsensical, but then Auriel, in his first actions, decided to create the concept of time, which stabilized the universe. Time exists, but not necessarily in the linear way that mortals like you and I understand it. Consider the space-time continuum, how time functions differently in different places within our own universe. But since time created some sense of the universe, other entities or souls could be born. These are the original spirits called the Et'Ada. The planes of Aetherius and Oblivion come into existence as well as places for these Et'Ada to inhabit. So I think it's time to recap. Anu and Padme exist. They are cosmic forces of order and chaos. They create themselves a pseudo-soul each, Anoiel and Sithis. Now these cosmic forces of order and chaos interplay and end up creating the Orbis, the universe. Anoiel creates itself a soul called Auriel, and Sithis does the same, creating Lorkhan. Auriel creates time, stabilizing the universe, and then many more gods, aka the Et Arda, the original spirits, are born, as well as the planes of Aetherius and Oblivion. Cool, so we're all up to speed. Now what happens? Well, the multiple of the Et Arda were not entirely satisfied with the planes of existence they had to choose from, so Lorkhan used this opportunity to enact his plan. Lorkhan approached the Et Arda with the plan for creation of a new realm called Mundus, which they could fill with their own creations. Some of the Et Arda declined the offer. These were called the Daedra, which means not our ancestors, and the ones who did accept and took part in the creation were called the Aedra, which means our ancestors. Here is where the stories differ. As the elves tell the story, Lorkhan is seen as a trickster and a betrayer who came to the gods and then told him of his plan, but kept secret the fact that they would lose parts of their power in the process. The realm of Mundus was formed, and within it the planet of Nirn, but spirits who took part in its creation did not realize until it was too late. Some of them, however, did realize what was happening to their power and chose to abandon the project of Mundus. Magnus, the architect, as well as his followers called the Magnagi, fled, ripping holes in the realm through to Aetherius. It is for this reason we have the sun and stars, which all link Magicka from Aetherius into the Mystic realm. The most powerful of the Aedra, the ones that you would know as the Eight Divines, convened at the newly created Adamantine Tower and decided how they would punish Lorkhan. There are a few versions of this, and time is also not exactly linear at this point, so I will just tell you the crux of it. Auriel ripped out Lorkhan's heart and shot it into the sea, where the island of Vardenfell and Red Mountain would grow. The Eight Divines committed to the creation of Mundus and completed it, losing much more of their power and being reduced to the semi-unconscious states that they are in, as planets floating around Nirn. The other Aedric Et Arda, who were weaker than the Divines, were stuck on Nirn, and they became the Elnefey. Some sacrificed themselves to become the laws of nature and the elements that bound Nirn together, but then there were two other groups of Elnefey, the Old and the Wandering. The Old Elnefey found Aldmeris, a place they could fortify and protect, a place of order and calm, and live as they had before the creation of Mundus. These would become the Elves. The Wandering Elnefey, on the other hand, were left to a crazy, changing Nirn, confusing them, disorienting them. After Nirn was finished, they found themselves scattered with memories lost on all corners of this newly formed world. These would become the races of man. The fundamental difference between the elven interpretation I just spoke of and the interpretation of creation by man is the trickery. Let's look at Shazar, the Cyrodiilic version of Lorkhan. It is said that Shazar came to the other Et Arda and taught them how to be mothers and fathers. He was honest about them losing their power, but brought the philosophy of sacrifice to create something beautiful, to create Mundus. The gods of man and beast joined the project and willfully gave birth to their creations, relishing in their sacrifice. However, the elven gods became bitter and disliked their lost power, and then turned on Shazar for revenge. The main difference between elves and man's opinion about the soul of Sithis, Lorkhan, or Shazar, is whether or not he was a good and honest dude or a trickster and a liar. Okay, so we should all now be on the same page about the creation story. Whether or not Lorkhan was a bad guy or good guy depends on really whether you are an elf or a man, but let's get back to the gods. We have heart to enact his plan. Lorkhan approached the Et Arda with the plan for creation of a new realm called Mundus, which they could fill with their own creations. Some of the Et Arda declined the offer. These were called the Daedra, which means not our ancestors, and the ones who did accept and took part in the creation were called the Aedra, which means our ancestors. Here is where the stories differ. As the elves tell the story, Lorkhan is seen as a trickster and a betrayer who came to the gods and then told him of his plan, but kept secret the fact that they would lose parts of their power in the process. The realm of Mundus was formed, and within it the planet of Nirn, but spirits who took part in its creation did not realize until it was too late. Some of them, however, did realize what was happening to their power and chose to abandon the project of Mundus. Magnus, the architect, as well as his followers called the Magnagi, fled, ripping holes in the realm through to Aetherius. It is for this reason we have the sun and stars, which all link Magicka from Aetherius into the mortal realm. The most powerful of the Aedra, the ones that you would know as the Eight Divines, convened at the newly created Adamantine Tower and decided how they would punish Lorkhan. There are a few versions of this, and time is also not exactly linear at this point, so I will just tell you the crux of it. Auriel ripped out Lorkhan's heart and shot it into the sea, where the island of Vardenfell and Red Mountain would grow. The Eight Divines committed to the creation of Mundus and completed it, losing much more of their power and being reduced to the semi-unconscious states that they are in, as planets floating around Nirn. The other Aedric et Arda, who were weaker than the Divines, were stuck on Nirn, and they became the Elnefey. Some sacrificed themselves to become the laws of nature and the elements that bound Nirn together, but then there were two other groups of Elnefey, the Old and the Wandering. The Old Elnefey found Aldmeris, a place they could fortify and protect, a place of order and calm, and live as they had before the creation of Mundus. These would become the Elves. The Wandering Elnefey, on the other hand, were left to a crazy, changing Nirn, confusing them and disorienting them. After Nirn was finished, they found themselves scattered with memories lost on all corners of this newly formed world. These would become the race of man. The fundamental difference between the Elven interpretation I just spoke of and the interpretation of creation by man is the trickery. Let's look at Shazar, the Cyrodiilic version of Lorkhan. It is said that Shazar came to the other Et Arda and taught them how to be mothers and fathers. He was honest about them losing their power, but brought the philosophy of sacrifice to create something beautiful, to create Mundus. The gods of man and beast joined the project and willfully gave birth to their creations, relishing in their sacrifice. However, the elven gods became bitter and disliked their lost power, and then turned on Shazar for revenge. The main difference between elves and man's opinion about the soul of Sithis, Lorkhan, or Shazar, is whether or not he was a good and honest dude or a trickster and a liar. Okay, so we should all now be on the same page about the creation story. Whether or not Lorkhan was a bad guy or good guy depends on really whether you are an elf or a man, but let's get back to the gods. We are going to tackle all different kinds of interpretations of the gods in the different pantheons, but first we need to clear up all of the hard facts and necessary distinctions, as well as the fundamental commonalities between them all. So, before creation, there was Anu and Padme, the cosmic forces which are always acknowledged in some form. For example, in the Yokudan pantheon, they are combined into Sakatal, the snake, the world skin, who has Nirn on his scales. But Sakatal is shaped like an Ouroboros, always eating itself because of its hungry stomach, called a Kel, aka their interpretation of Padme. All of the gods were originally collectively called the Et Arda, the original spirits. Then exist two classifications as well as an extra little group. You have the Aedra, who gave up their power to create the realm of Mundus, and on the other hand, you have the Daedra, who sat back and watched from the waters of oblivion, keeping their power. Now, this is why the Daedra are far more powerful than the Aedra. It is why you have the Daedric princes still interacting with mortals, whereas the Aedric influence is subtle, rare, or limited. The Divines don't interact with you directly like the Daedric princes can. There is another group which are somewhat Aedric because they helped with creation, but they are also the ones who bailed halfway through the process, aka Magnus and the Magna Gi. The many different cultures of Tamriel almost always recognize a complete distinction between the Aedra and the Daedra, but then we also have the curious case of gods like Orki, who combines aspects of Malakath and Arkay, but we'll get to him later. The gist is, because the Daedra have such visceral and personal interactions with the mortals of Nirn, they are rarely misinterpreted. Yes, they can take different forms, male or female, or perhaps they could appear more similar to the race they are speaking to, for example Sheogorath, the Sugar Cat, the Khajiit version of Sheogorath, but their spheres, what they are about, are generally understood, and they have a commonality in all religions of the Elder Scrolls. Hircine is the god of hunt in pretty much all cultures, and Mehrunes Dagon is the god of destruction. You get the idea. But the Aedra are a completely different story. They gave up much of their power during creation, and as a result they have been left somewhat comatose in an almost unconscious state. Each of the Aedra can be identified as one of the other planets within Mundus. As I said, they don't usually directly interact with mortals. They are usually limited to influence only. This disconnect between the mortals and the Aedric gods has made it so each culture can develop their own ideas about each each god, and there is no god to just show up and say, nah, that ain't me. Whereas the Daedra can clearly interact with mortals and say, this is what I'm about, therefore cultures can't really impart their own beliefs onto the Daedra besides different names. This whole thing gets even more complex when we start talking about worship and multiple god identities, but we're going to leave that to later in the video. First, we are going to talk about the pantheons. Buckle up for a lot of religion. We're going to talk about all the gods of all Tamrielic cultures, so let's just begin with the foundational one, the one for our basis of comparison, the Imperial Pantheon. The beginning of the Imperial Pantheon, the beginning of the Aedra beings known as the Eight Divines, started with the slave queen Alesia, who began the first empire of man in Cyrodiil in the year 243 of
Slave
the First
queen.
Era. So what is interesting is that before this, there was no Zenithar or no Kinnereth. They went by other names, worshipped by other cultures, seen as different deities. The Imperial Pantheon itself is a First Era creation. For example, Kinnereth, the nature goddess, was known as Kine to the Nords and was the god of storms and warrior wife to Shor, who is their interpretation of Lorkhan. Anyways, the reason the Imperial Pantheon was created was to provide a middle ground between those who worshipped the Elven Pantheon, such as the liberated Nedic slaves, and also the Nords who helped them, who believed in their traditional ancient Nordic pantheon. Alesia combined aspects of both sets of gods to create a balanced interpretation. She is the reason that Auriel, the elven god of time, became Akatosh, the dragon god of time, because there is no way that the Nords would accept an elvish god. Now, big heads up right now, Akatosh is really confusing because at some point a group called the Marikati Selectives actually caused a dragon break, apparently, to remove the elven elements of Akatosh, but I don't want to get into that here, so you can go watch the Dragon Break video linked below, but also I will be talking about worship later, and this will be important then. I'm also not going to talk about Talos the Ninth Divine yet, but for now we have the Imperial Pantheon, which consists of Akatosh the Dragon God of Time, Arche the God of Cycles, Birth and Death, Dibella, Goddess of Beauty and Art, Julianos the God of Wisdom, Logic and Magic, Kinnereth the Goddess of Heavens and Nature, Mara the Mother Goddess of Love and Compassion, Stendar the God of Mercy and Justice, and finally we have Zenithar, the Trader God of Work, Commerce and Wealth. These 8 gods, these imperial interpretations of the divines that Empress Alesia created in the First Era, are the ones that you are most familiar with. There is also Shazar, considered the lost sibling of the divines, but remember, Shazar is the Cyrodiilic version of Lorkhan, and Lorkhan was killed, mostly. But the big interesting takeaway here is not a large pepperoni pizza from Domino's, but the fact that the imperial cult came much later than other interpretations and was a direct fabrication, taking common archetypes, which shows that the Imperials don't necessarily have it right. But the same goes for everyone. I thought that it might be a good idea to talk about the Nordic Pantheon next, considering that you may be a little bit more familiar with some of the names from the limited mention in the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. A more accurate term now would be the Ancient Nordic Pantheon, as it has been largely supplanted by the Imperial
Bore, lungs, basilisk, brains.
Era. The Ancient Nordic Pantheon is far more Nordic in flavor, based around their warrior culture. Their greatest god is Shor, a bloodthirsty warrior king who sided with the Nords, bringing them victory against the Aldmeri oppressors. He is what you would consider chief of the Nordic gods, and it is Shor who created the ethereal realm of Sovngarde, a utopia for the Nords to enjoy in death after a good life. He was eventually killed by the elven gods. Kine, the goddess of the storm, is the Nordic variant of Kinnereth. Kine is one of the most important gods to the Nords. She is the warrior widow of Shor and also referred to as the Kiss at the End because she leads the souls of slain warriors to Sovngarde. She is also attributed with being the mother of man and instructing Paarthurnax to teach the Nords the Thum. You may start to see a trend here. Nordic gods usually have the Nords reflected in their interpretations, hence the many warrior gods. Now look at how they view Stendar, the god of mercy. Their version is called Stun, the god of ransom. He was the shield thane of Shor and taught the Nords how to take prisoners of war and why it was beneficial. Stun's brother was Tsun, the giant guy that guards the Whalebone Bridge to Sovngarde. Junal, the god of hermetic orders, runes, language, and mathematics, also associated with magic and the clever men, is the ancient Nordic version of the divine Julianos. Mara of the Nordic pantheon is very similar to her imperial counterpart. In fact, most people of Tamriel include Mara as a god of love and marriage, making her the most universal god among the cultures. However, in the Nordic interpretations, she is considered to be the handmaiden of Kine. Dibella was also included as the goddess of beauty. Before Akatosh, the Nords considered that Adric entity to be Alduin, the World Eater. Alduin was seen as the god of time, both a creator and harbinger of their apocalypse. He's associated with Kalpas, and that it is said that he destroys the universe for it to begin anew. However, when we play Skyrim, we hear of Alduin as the firstborn of Akatosh, implying Akatosh.
Okay, enough of this.
Alright, can't wait to play some good old Fallout 4. Oh man, this is gonna be great. This is gonna be so much fun. Get out of here. What the hell's going on? What? Why? What? You've beat Fallout 4 on hard. You've beat Fallout 4 on survival. You've beat Fallout 4 Frost Survival Simulator. Actually, I'm pretty sure that's not even possible. You want a game so hard, you'll be going to Dark Souls to take a break. Now, I'm not saying you should just go and download a mod like the game configuration menu and just drag that damage bar to hell and back. Wow, this game is so freaking, well, no shit. Everything kills you in one hit. That's not even fun. That's boring. Maybe a modest 2 times damage for both you and your enemies would increase the intensity, but that's about it. And we're not talking about mods that just give you 1 perk point on each stat. No! We're gonna add extra features that make your life more difficult. Modify enemies to make them more merciless. And not just set ludicrous game values. So if you're down with this, let's get to the first mod. First of all, if there's anything that gives you a massive crutch and advantage in Fallout 4, it is 100% the ability to pull out your Pip-Boy whenever you want and pause the game. Of course, we can't allow that to happen in our game mode, so you're going to want to get Fall Souls, a mod that stops any user interface that you open from stopping your game. Escape, console, lockpicking, hacking, none of that stuff should ever pause your game, and that's the first thing we're getting rid of. Second, you're almost guaranteed to die a lot. You might as well make it funny, right? Now, of course, everyone knows of the, what to say, but that's so 2012, so we have to use the Filthy Frank version instead. And to make sure you get the maximum usage of this def sound, you're also going to want to get the longer def cam, so you can really sit back and contemplate what just happened while listening to the melodious Filthy Frank. And for the graphics, we have the pretty new Visceral ENB. This is gonna give you a more hopeless mood to your game, which is good because hopelessness is what we're trying to instill in this build. Without coming off too much as horror-like. You know, we're not trying to scare you. We're trying to make you feel pain. This ENB also has a very dark and dramatic interior. You know, the kind of interior you won't be able to see shit in. To hopefully further enhance the feeling of hopelessness. By default, the Commonwealth is a pretty safe and docile space. You know, nothing's really out there to get you. The air's pretty safe to breathe, and that's about to change. With the mod Fallout 2287 Gas Masks of the Wasteland, a Metro 2033 inspired mod where you're required to always have on a gas mask. Of course, it gives you different options, so it's not really required.
All right, I'm taking a break, you guys. Please